Welcome everybody to today's Focus Friday. I'm Bill Russell, President of Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, and we are very excited that we have the Superintendent of Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. But first, we want to recognize Mike Riley. Mike Riley is the President of Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center. And Mike, we kicked off Junior Leadership Lake Norman yesterday. So we had 20 high school juniors, really excited about going through that program. And that's a program that sponsors along with the adult program. So we thank you for that. But Mike, COVID numbers kind of going in a bad direction. You want to talk to us a little bit about what's happening at Novant?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to, Bill. It's interesting. We had a peak of COVID in January, February, and over the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 months, it had declined significantly. But then over the last 4 weeks, it's spiked up again. So we're probably about 60% of where we were with COVID patients from January, from where the peak was. And it's continuing to rise. We're expecting the COVID numbers to rise for the next 3 or 4 weeks, give or take. The thing that makes this period a little different than the last time, when we had the COVID peak before, it was just a lot of COVID patients. And what we're seeing now is a combination of COVID patients and sick patients, not non-COVID sick patients. And, you know, I remember talking to the chamber a year ago because our hospital was empty. I mean, there was nobody in the hospital. Nobody was going to the doctor's offices. And I said, make sure if you're sick, you know, come to the hospital. If you have some kind of chronic condition, go to your physician, make sure you take care of yourself. And I think what we're seeing now is kind of the culmination of people not going to the doctor for the last year and not taking care of their chronic condition. So your diabetes is exacerbating, your heart failure is exacerbating, all of your chronic conditions. So we were having increasingly sick patients come to the hospital. And then on top of that, now we're having a COVID surge. So that's what we're seeing in the hospital, not just the Novant hospitals, Atrium, and I said earlier, really all hospitals in major cities throughout the country. We've been working, a good thing, we've been working together with Medic and Atrium to have regular meetings to talk about how to move patients. We were at a point where different hospitals were diverting, meaning they were telling the ambulances we were too full to come, and we didn't have good coordination. But now we have good coordination so that we don't have multiple hospitals in the same area going on diversion and nowhere for the medics to bring them. So we're doing a lot better with coordination. I just tell you and tell your employees and your family and your friends, please be patient, because if you come to the ER, the waits are long. It doesn't matter where you go. The urgent care waits are long. It's just, there's just this is a big taxing to the health system.
Well, Mike,
I wish I had better news.
We appreciate the partnership of Novant. Thank you and your staff for all you're doing to make our community safe. And thank you for your sponsorship of this program. We have Jeff Tart, who is the Public Policy Chair of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. He's going to MC today's program. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you, Mike, for the update on the COVID stuff. Again, I wish we had better news. Today we have a real treat, and I really consider this a treat, is that we have the Superintendent of Charlotte Mecklenburg School System, which represents about, I guess, 130 schools, somewhere in that ballpark. About 143,000 students, I guess, are going to be enrolled this school year. And Superintendent Winston is with us. He comes out of the background. There's not a more qualified person to be sitting in this seat today. He's been a teacher. He's been chief of staff to the 2 past superintendents. If you went online and looked at his credentials and all the awards and recognition he's gotten over his career, it is quite astounding and amazing. Superintendent, I know we're looking at school opening, I believe, on August 25th. And it's unbelievable that you would take the time this close to the opening of school and spend with us this morning. We truly appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Just as background for the group is we've got a pretty full list of things to cover. So we probably won't open this up to direct questions, but we have the chat. So if you've got something in addition as we're going along, stick it in the chat and we'll try to keep an eye on it. We're going to first give the superintendent an opportunity to kind of give us an update, state of the schools, if you will, and what's cooking. And then we'll get into a little bit of Q&A at the end. So, Mr. Superintendent, the floor is yours. And again, we truly appreciate you taking the time this morning to spend with all of us.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Tart. I appreciate the opportunity to join you all this morning. President Russell, thank you for this opportunity as well. I do want to acknowledge our elected officials who are joining us this morning as well. I do, in particular, want to acknowledge a few of my bosses. First up, I see Ms. Jennifer De La Hara, who is here, an at-large board member on the Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools board. I know that Rhonda Linden, Rhonda Cheek, I should say, who represents District 1. I'm not sure if she's on, but certainly I know that she works very closely with the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, and wanted to certainly acknowledge her as well. I am excited to be here this morning, and I really hope that this can be a conversation. And so I won't speak for a long time. I will just share some brief remarks. And I certainly appreciated hearing Mr. Riley and his comments a few moments ago in terms of where we are, local conditions. I'm excited. Let me tell you that my team and I, we are excited. Senator Tart, you mentioned we are embarking on the opening of schools August 25th. So less than a week, we will be opening nearly 180 schools across Charlotte Mecklenburg. We've grown a little bit, and in fact, we will be opening 3 new schools and a replacement school. In fact, I am currently sitting in one of our newest schools in your neck of the woods, which is the North Academy of World Languages Magnet School, opening up on Hambright Road, just a stone's throw from North Mech and J.M. Alexander. I'm sure you all know, and you have seen the building go up during the construction phase. We are, to what you shared earlier, Senator Tart, we are expecting just over 143,000 students to enroll and walk through our doors when we open next Wednesday. Our staff has done a tremendous job in preparing for opening of schools. And as you all know, this opening of schools will look a bit different from the previous opening of schools. We will be opening to all students at once. And we have not had our students in our buildings together all at once since March of 2019. So that's been a while ago, but I will tell you that we are excited, we're prepared, we're ready to go. When Camp CMS wrapped up this summer, which is our 6-week academic and enrichment program to help our students with unfinished learning, we began feverishly preparing for the opening of schools. And so our buildings are ready, and certainly look forward to our parents and our students walking through our doors. I do want to acknowledge that while we are ready, it's important for us to open on August 25th, but it's more important that we remain open throughout the school year. And I know that's what each of you all want as well. And in order to do that, we must be vigilant. Mr. Riley spoke of the conditions, where we are numbers wise, and we are at levels that we haven't seen since earlier this year. And so I believe our positivity rate in Mecklenburg County is approximately 13%. I know that a new figure will be released today by the Mecklenburg County Public Health Department. And we have a district response team that monitors the local metrics, works very closely with our health department, excuse me, as well as officials with DHHS in making recommendations to our leadership team based on local metrics. And then I make, in turn, recommendations to our Board of Education regarding opening of schools. And so I wanted to just lift that up. One of the things that our families and our students can expect when they walk through our doors are the safety protocols that we have in place. I believe it is not a secret that Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, I made a recommendation to our Board of Education, and our Board of Education made a tough decision to require that all students, all staff members, and visitors to our buildings wear face coverings. That is a decision that my staff and I will evaluate at the end of every quarter, or if metrics dictate that we do so sooner, we will certainly do so prior to the end of every quarter and make a recommendation to the Board of Education on whether or not we should stay the course or go in a different direction. And so I am going to pause there. Would love to be able to answer any questions that you all may have on the opening of schools or this school year in general.
All right, Mr. Superintendent, appreciate it. We're going to start with, to kind of warm things up, something I call our lightning round. And I've got a handful of topics here that are just an item, a concept, a thought, a topic. And if you would just, off the top of your head, kind of a real quick thought about each one. And they're random, they're all over the map. So here we go. And we'll take a few minutes with this, and then we'll get into some detailed conversation. Name, image, and likeness for student athletes.
Right, so that's an issue that we are seeing play out at the collegiate level. And, you know, I certainly believe that, you know, our student athletes are an important university life. I support the decision that the NCAA made to provide those student athletes.
All right, COVID vaccines.
Extremely important. I encourage all of our eligible students, as well as our staff members and all members of our community to get vaccinated. We know it's effective. We know it's pain-free, and we know it works. And it's a tool to help not only protect yourself, but to protect those around you.
Well, the corollary is mask mandates.
Mask mandates. So we believe that, as I mentioned earlier, Senator Tart, that it's important to open schools, but it's important also to remain open. And we know that when students wear their mask or their face coverings, and they wear them properly, and they come in contact with someone who is positive, they will not have to quarantine, which significantly reduces the likelihood that we will have to take multiple numbers of students out of school and have them quarantined. So that's an opportunity for us to remain open. And I just encourage our families to ensure that our students are wearing their masks. Great.
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory. That is something that we do not teach in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, period.
All right. Title IX.
Title IX, it's extremely important, has been in the news lately, and we are working feverishly to make sure that we examine our practices. I've announced the launch of a Title IX task force so that we can review our protocols and our processes. Extremely important that all of our staff members understand and know how to recognize and respond to any issues of misconduct.
Next item is magnet programs.
Yes, so I'm sitting in a magnet school here in the Lake Norman area, north part of the county. Extremely important. It's important for our families to have choice. Certainly, neighborhood schools are very important. But you know, magnet schools are extremely important as well, and we want our families to have choice.
Okay, here's a fun one to throw at you. County board funding.
County board funding. Thanks to the hard work of our Board of Education members, we were able to secure funding for this school year. So I'm excited that occurred.
Awesome. Diversity and equity.
Diversity and equity, extremely important topic. We have a very diverse student body here in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, where over 180 countries are represented in the district. And we are trying to educate our students to be competitive in a global society. And so diversity and inclusion, professional development for our staff is extremely important. And we continue to do that important work. It is a journey. It's not something that you start and you say that I'm culturally proficient, but it is an ongoing journey.
PreK.
PreK is extremely important. And it's extremely important because those are some of the foundational years. And it's important that we make sure that our students have what they need early on to be successful later on in their educational journey.
Great. Read to Achieve.
Yes, Read to Achieve. I think the Read to Achieve program is important because we know that, at an earlier stage in those earlier grades, K through 3, students are learning to read. And that forms the basis, the foundation for what they do later. We know that later on, students are reading to learn, but if they don't have the basics and the foundation, it becomes much more challenging in the latter grades.
Nice. Teaching fellows.
Teaching fellows, extremely important. One of the things that you all know that is not a surprise is that we have a teacher shortage in North Carolina, across the country, in fact. And so it's important that we have multiple avenues for teachers to enter the profession.
A related area is teaching assistants.
Extremely important, extremely important. I will bet you that if you were to ask any teacher, how can they be so effective in the classroom with students? And they will first certainly give credit to their teacher assistants. This work is challenging, and it takes more than just the teacher in the classroom. Our teacher assistants, many of them who have gone on to become teachers, but they are an invaluable part of what we do every day in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools.
Great. The last couple, 3, EOGs.
EOGs are important. EOGs are important, and I will share with you so that I don't want anyone to be surprised that on September 1st, when our results come out across the state and including in that Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, we are going to see the results that reflect our students having been in a pandemic over the past year and a half. I will say EOGs are important, but students and schools are more than just grades.
Okay, the last 2, and both relate to types of schools. Virtual schools.
I think virtual schools have obviously gained a bit more prominence over the past year and a half. Here in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, we are introducing to our portfolio of schools this year, elementary as well as a middle option to join our high school portfolio. And so it's going to be an extremely important part of the educational process. I think virtual schools are here to stay. And just because schools are virtual does not mean that students receive any less of an education. We know that some of our students, as they proved over the past 15 months, absolutely did well, and they thrived in the virtual environment.
And then the last one, charter schools.
Charter schools, yes, which I know is a big topic, particularly in the northern part of the county. I firmly believe that families should have choice. It is our job and it's our responsibility in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools to make sure that we are the top option for families. And we have to work at that every day to make sure that that's the case. But certainly, I've met with some of the charter school leaders, and we talk about opportunities to partner where we can on things such as professional development or ordering items in bulk. So there's not an adversarial relationship between traditional public schools and charter schools. I think that we all want what's best for kids.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to go through the kind of, as I refer to it, the lightning round. That is great insight, and appreciate you being able to respond so quickly. But we'll kind of jump into the conversation a little bit. And you talked about it in your opening comments, but it's obviously the beginning of school year. And curious, because I don't know if everybody appreciates, and in full disclosure, all three of my kids, K through 12, North Mech High grads, all adult grown, all off to school, great education through CMS, tremendous opportunities. But what happens at the beginning of the year? There's still enrollment going on. There's encouragement. We hear about parents not wanting, potentially withholding kids from kindergarten because of the pandemic. And then the shuffling of, because it impacts funding and assignments. Can you just talk about that beginning of the school year for the first, 4 to 8, 10 weeks, what that looks like, it's going to feel like for you guys?
Yeah, Senator Tart, very important question. Thank you for that. So the first couple of weeks of school, obviously, teaching and learning, my expectation is that teaching and learning is occurring on day one. We don't have any time to spare, given the state of affairs over the past year and a half. Students will also be learning expectations and routines during the first couple of weeks of schools. Students will be getting to know their classmates as well as their teachers to form those relationships that hopefully will pay dividends throughout the school year. You mentioned kindergarten, and so one of the things that we're seeing, and frankly, that it's occurring across the country, is that our enrollment in kindergarten is a bit down, and so families will continue to exercise choice. Many families don't want their students' first experience, to be in an environment where they're having to wear a face covering and so I understand that and I respect that. But for schools, take any kid who comes to our door, and that is our responsibility that we have to every family in our county.
Good. Now, we talked about the mask mandate, obviously, with what's going on with COVID. Has there been discussion at the board level, your level, with others on what that might look like, or the options that will be required or not required, whether at age levels that may be exempt or not, or schools, or just any more detailed thought around that to share?
Sure. Thanks, Senator Tart. Well, and I will say this, that, I know our Board of Education made a tough decision. We would all rather not have to have our faces covered. Sure. But what we've seen other districts who have followed, after it became that this what is going to keep from having large numbers of students out due to quarantine. So, we don't have the same options that we had this time last year. And that's why I really encourage everyone who is eligible to get vaccinated to do so. And so certainly we will have an exemption opportunity, medical exemption, that will require a sign off by a physician. So we do have that document. It is available to families. Those students who had exemptions last year will have to fill out that document again this year for the school year.
And this is one thing I don't understand, and maybe others have the same question, but do students and parents have an option to select in-person versus if they wanted to do virtual school? Do they have that option to choose?
Yes, yes, Senator Tart. Families do have the option to attend our elementary, middle, or high school virtual school. Enrollment registration in our virtual program is closed at this point because we want to make sure that we have enough teachers to provide the experience that we all expect of our students. And so we've got about 2,400 students across all three of our virtual options enrolled this current school year. But families certainly do have the opportunity to make that choice.
Yeah, and again, I know historically this is not a new thing with the overcrowding. My kids, when they were at North Mech was the largest high school in the state of North Carolina at the time, and then it's 15, 16 years ago, and was running at 130% capacity type things. I know Huff, and this is one of the questions somebody had shared with us. Huff's getting potentially pretty crowded, so will JV Washington, some of the other schools, not totally unique to the north. But how are we addressing overcrowding, and is virtual an option to help alleviate that? Just curious.
Yes, so yes, I do know that overcrowding has been and continues to be an issue in the north, in the southern parts of the county as well. And so that is not lost on us, certainly. And I want to thank all the voters here in the northern part of the county in particular for our last bond referendum that obviously produced the school that I am sitting in now here on Hambright Road. In the near future, we will be hopefully returning to voters to ask them to help us meet some of those pressing needs for new school construction to address those issues of overcrowding.
Superintendent Winston, can you share with us, the top 2, 3, 4 priorities you and the board have for the coming school year?
Absolutely, Senator Tart. Our top priority this year, as it is every year, I should say, is really providing equity of opportunity to position all of our students in the district to really be able to reach their full potential. We want to strive for excellence of all students. And really, in short, to do our job of educating the students of Mecklenburg County. That is our top priority. I will tell you, it is a calling to do this job. And that, we have to remember that every day, thousands of families, and I'm one of those families. I've got 2 young ladies here in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, but literally thousands of families, they trust us every day to do that job and enable their students to be able to learn and grow. And so personally, what I want to do is to really elevate student voice and to challenge our staff to reimagine education, right? Not let those challenges or obstacles or worse, the way it's always been done, not let that stop us from making sure that we do right by our students and our families.
Yeah, there's no question. Teaching is definitely calling. We've got teachers in our family and stuff, and man, it is a handful job. And as we know, it's so critically important because our children spend, after us as parents and families, the most amount of time they spend is with their teachers and that influence. So it's so important. But I've also said for a long time, you have the second most difficult job in the entire state, only surpassed by the job of the actual school board members themselves. That's a tough thing to do. But and again, appreciate that you guys do this. As you move forward, everybody talks about, where you spend your money tells a lot about priorities as well. Can you share with us, in a sense, any insights, thoughts, highlights from the budget for the coming year? What are the big items that are being expended? What are things that you feel we should be spending more on, or these are really well aligned priorities, et cetera?
Sure. Yeah, so I do want to acknowledge Board Member De La Hara when you said that I have the second hardest job only to the job of a school board member. And I think that's absolutely correct. I've always said that and Ms. De La Hara has heard me say this, that I don't, have a penchant for politics or being an elected official. I really do value and appreciate all that you all do. As it relates to the budget, I would say that we are confident that what we need to operate schools and schools safely and to be able to educate the students of our county, that we have those funds. I will tell you that a highlight, Senator Tart, is the additional funding that we have received from the federal government that really allows us to continuously evaluate the impact of the pandemic and gives us an opportunity to align resources appropriately to help mitigate the impact on all of our students. We know all of our students have been impacted in some way or another by the pandemic. Every student in our district, they come back to us this school year differently than if we had not faced a year and a half of a pandemic. We have opportunities to elevate needs on a student by student basis. And it really is individualizing the education, so that all students can thrive. And so, certainly social and emotional supports are a significant part of our budget. One of the things that we continue to do is expand our curriculum into the high school level, both in ELA and mathematics.
Gotcha. You had a unique opportunity. You've served as chief of staff, I believe, for the prior two superintendents. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you came in kind of knowing what you were walking into. Lessons learned that you or observations from serving with the prior superintendent that you've been able to either, these are things I could bring to the job, or things that, hey, I don't want to do this again.
Yes, you are correct. I served very closely to several of our previous superintendents, my predecessors. I will tell you though, there's nothing like being in the seat itself. And and I will tell you that I value the advice that I received from my predecessors, and I do talk to a number of them, not only predecessors, but superintendents from across the state and across the country. I am of the belief that there's no need to reinvent the wheel. If there are best practices taking place elsewhere, then we all borrow from each other and customize it to fit our local needs. But one of the lessons that a predecessor has shared with me is the fact that you will always sleep well at night if you know that with every decision you make, you do so in the best interest of kids. So
Sure.
remain student-centered. Another predecessor shared some information with me along those lines, and that is that this is a challenging job, and you have to be comfortable with being unpopular. And so certainly I have experienced that in the 2 years that I have been on the job. It's certainly not a popularity contest, but I do wake up every morning and I go to bed at night thinking about doing what's best for kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. The thing about that, another critical relationship that's important to navigate, and just curious your thoughts on the relationship between the CMS school board and the Charlotte and Mecklenburg County board. That is, it needs to be a kind of a hand in glove type relationship. because of funding needs and so forth and working with them. Can you share a little bit how you navigate that and your thoughts around that relationship?
No, I think that is a critical relationship. And, I will speak to the relationship that we aim to develop. And I believe they similarly desire. And that is that they are a valued partner in helping us improve student outcomes. Without a doubt, help our students reach their full potential. We have students for 8 hours of the day, maybe more with extracurricular participation or before and after school programs. But these students are outside of our walls more than they are in. And their circumstances during those times really impact how their school experiences are. And so it's important that we work together to make sure that our students and their families, because we know that what impacts families certainly has a direct impact on our students. But we have to make sure that they have what they need outside of school so that, our dedicated and talented teaching and support staff can help our students succeed in school.
Sure, makes sense. That's awesome. The kind of an area we used it in the lightning round, and it's a topic I'm not sure a lot of parents particularly have a lot of appreciation for, is Title IX. And Title IX is pretty broad set of statute and has a fairly significant impact on schools and education, universities as well, on all the reporting requirements and things and compliance issues. Can you give us a little peek under the cover of how that really impacts you and the resource requirements and kind of what generally is involved on a kind of a month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter basis?
Absolutely. Well, as everyone on this Zoom meeting knows that Title IX has received a great deal of attention lately, as it should. Title IX is an education. It's really a federal education law that prohibits discrimination based on sex, gender, and more. It's very important, I believe, as I mentioned earlier, that our staff, that they know how to properly handle cases of misconduct as they're defined by Title IX. It's equally important that our students know their rights under the law and how to report misconduct, and that all of our students feel supported and that they feel heard. And that's why we're really emphasizing staff and student understanding of Title IX. We have annual Title IX training for all of our school-based staff, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers. And I mentioned earlier that we launched a task force that is taking shape now, and we'll be sharing more information about that with our community in the coming weeks. But Title IX, extremely important.
One of the things I know we always hear about, and it's been more of a topic of late, is the idea that, we've always pushed for a long time, everybody's going to college, and we recognize there's alternative tracks, whether that's tech schools, vocational things. People don't realize how many kids are in a career path, a trade path, even within CMS. It's huge. And I mean, it's like thousands of kids, tens of thousands of kids. So it's like, I hear the thought, well, we're not addressing that. I think we actually are doing a pretty dang good job. And in response to that, or at least a highlight, I believe the apprenticeship program is it Olympic High School? That's been outside businesses that have come in and working with. Can you share a little bit about that program? And are there other similar type programs or unique programs around CMS because of our size that we have the ability to bring and offer students that you can maybe share with us today?
Yeah, so Olympic High School and Michael Relon, one of the staff members who oversees and certainly plays an important part of the work there at Olympic. our students are receiving amazing opportunities as apprentices through that program at Olympic. I know that they begin the program while they're in school, and four-year program, so that they can go on and matriculate into institutions of higher education. So they leave us in many instances with jobs, high-paying jobs, in fact. And so, we have to do more to change this culture. Certainly our goal is to prepare our students to be career and college ready. But we do have to recognize that every child, may not want to go to college. And so careers are extremely important. I appreciate the work of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce and what you all have done over the years. And I know that the businesses in the southwest part of town have been very instrumental in partnering with us to offer our students opportunities for careers. And so we've got to help change the perception. I think, with our families, with our students, and even with our staff members, that these are incredible opportunities for our students that will pay dividends certainly long after they leave us. But we want to give them a jump start while they're in school.
And then the flip side of that coin is, can you talk about the emphasis or the opportunities around STEM education and about early college?
Extremely important, both of those. I will tell you, focus on, science and technology and engineering and math is extremely important. And we are doing more to try to encourage more participation in our STEM programs, especially among our girls. We know there are tremendous opportunities out there in our early colleges as well, in our middle colleges. So we have very strong partnerships with CPCC as well as UNCC to enhance both of those initiatives, the early and middle colleges. But certainly our STEM programs are one that we're always looking to expand. And so I will say that if there are businesses who are listening and you want to partner with us to offer our students more opportunities to that end, we welcome the opportunity to sit down and have that conversation.
And I'm going to brag as a dad and brag on CMS for a second and the impact on my family just around STEM, because my middle one is a mechanical engineer, went to Georgia Tech. My daughter is now a medical doctor doing her third year pediatric residency at UNC hospitals. That's all being, say what you want, but that's all possible because of CMS and the education that they got through the school system. So again, I tip my hat to you guys on what you've done, even directly for our own family. That said, shift kind of up here a little bit. An issue that's been ongoing. I've been here 30 years. I go back to John Murphy days when he was superintendent. So I've been around, knew the last 5 superintendents pretty well just because of past roles and involvement locally. But one of the issues that's always you hear talking is breaking up CMS, keeping CMS, growing it bigger. Is there a right or best size for CMS?
Well, Senator Tarr, you're telling your age a little bit. You mentioned Superintendent Murphy, but so you know what? Here's what I will say to that particular question. So we have 6 learning communities, and certainly the Northwest Learning Community, Aquanetta Edmond Learning Community Superintendent, and Aaron Joplin, the Executive Director of the Northwest Learning Community. They do a tremendous job connecting and staying in contact and strengthening those relationships with our business community here, and certainly with our municipalities. And the reason I call that out is because I know that we are a large school district, second largest in the state. And it's important for us, although we're big, it's important to be able to make big feel small. And so But I do believe that our size enables us to offer more options for our families and our students, and a more diverse array of experiences than any other district in our state. And I think you just talked about, and you gave a testimony regarding your family's experiences and how those have paid dividends. So I think there are advantages to being big, but we certainly also want to make big feel small.
The kind of related to that a little bit is the magnet programs. Again, over the years, they're in favor, they're a little bit out of favor. Do magnet programs have a role today? And if so, how?
Yes, I do believe that magnet programs play a significant role. I will share that, my two children attend magnet programs here in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. And certainly we have great neighborhood options. And so that's what we want for all families to have at least two really solid options, whether it be a neighborhood school or a magnet school. But they do provide us unique opportunities and a depth of education for our families who are looking to provide their students, with opportunities in addition or as an enhancement, to their assigned homeschool. As I mentioned earlier, I do think neighborhood schools are important, no doubt about that. But it's also important for our families to feel like public schools give them options as well.
And a couple of those options, more kind of a little more specifically, if you can maybe just highlight for a second, talk to what the programs are about, AP classes and the International Baccalaureate program.
Absolutely. So our AP classes are, IB courses, the Cambridge program, which I know is here, North Meg. We also have opportunities in theater and performing arts, STEM opportunities, learning immersion programs, world language programs. I'm here on Hambright Road. So there are numerous opportunities. And even for families who have multiple students in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, it's not a given that those students' interests are the same. And so that's why choice is extremely important, because even within the same family, you have students who have different interests.
Gotcha. A topic that I'm not sure is talked about, in the hallways of the school, students, and maybe not even that much with parents, but administrators get it, teachers get it, and the legislators get an earful, is around the school calendar. Can you talk about what the issue is with the school calendar and the desire of most of the school systems to have a little more flexibility in that area?
Well, yes, Senator Tart, would be happy to do so. And you well about the General Assembly part of that, and that all LEAs in the state, must work within what the legislature provides us. And that often leaves us with fewer options than we would really desire. And so we have an annual calendar process, and we seek input from our community members, but realizing that no single calendar option is going to please everyone. And I think that's important. I think that we would like, and I don't think this is a secret, but I think most of us would like to start a little earlier, so that our students can finish the semester before winter break. That would certainly seem to align, with an interest in student outcomes first. And in fact, I think that might be something that businesses and civic organizations such as the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce could help us with.
Good point. Yeah, that is just such a weird issue and topic that I guess for me, I'm biased, but I think it's kind of brain dead that we haven't addressed it and given you guys that flexibility so kids don't go away for Christmas break, and the only thing they have is after the break is to come back and take their finals from the prior into the other quarter. Anyway, you get me going on that topic if we start talking about it too much. For you, and so we're dealing with General Assembly and that kind of topic. Any really tough political decisions you've had or issues you've had to deal with since you've now being the head of all of CMS? And political doesn't mean necessarily be tied to Raleigh. It can be, but kind of political, even internally.
No, that's a great question, Senator Tart. Yes, so I tend to stay out of the politics, and I let my bosses, really, that's their area of expertise. I just stay focused. As challenging as it becomes sometimes, giving the landscape and what's happening in our country, in our state, and locally, I try to stay focused on what matters most, and that really is our students and our teachers. That I am privileged to serve all of those constituencies, and making sure that our families have what they need to feel safe. When they drop, as we do, drop our kids off in the morning, there's just an implicit trust there, and so we have an awesome responsibility. And quite frankly, I've got so much else to worry about that I'd rather leave the politics to our board members.
I love it. Well, I got three things left for you. We're kind of close to the end of our time. Serious one. What do you see personally as the top education issues for the state?
What do I see as the top education issue for the state? Well, I certainly think, equity is extremely important. Not just, in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, but I think across the state. I think what a student looks like, where a student lives, or how much money a student family, how much money they earn, should really not impact the opportunities that a student receives. And so to that end, I would say that funding will always be important. It's really difficult, I think, to expect schools throughout our state to succeed and really improve outcomes, if the floodgates are open, with public money flowing from traditional public schools to other options. So, I really think funding continues to be an important issue. And I would say, well, I'll end there. Well, I was just going to say that I think those options are, as I mentioned earlier, are really good for some, but there are likely will come a tipping point from which public schools truly find themselves in a deep hole. So I think we've got to keep our eyes on the ball there.
Gotcha. The most important two questions I'm going to close with.
Yes,
First,
sir.
If you weren't in education, what would be your dream job?
Wow. As a young boy, I imagine being an athlete, as I suspect, most young kids do. Certainly, I love baseball. My wife thinks it's boring as heck, but there's nothing like going to a Charlotte Knights game, or I am a Chicago kid watching the Chicago Cubs play. So being an athlete was a route that I would have loved to have pursued, but I just am not gifted athletically like that.
Well, I will pick up on that as my dream job if I could have. Since you mentioned the Cubs, I would have been the next Jack Brickhouse or Harry Carey and been the Cubs announcer.
Two Cubs legends.
There you go. And then the last one, what do you do for fun?
Wow. What do I do for fun? Well, certainly in the time that I have, I really enjoy spending time with family. I know my girls are getting older. I've got a 8th grader and a 5th grader, and in a few short years, they will probably be off to college. But in my fun time, we certainly I enjoy in particular spending time at the beach. Enjoy collecting seashells. There is something that is therapeutic about walking on the beach, listening to the waves, and collecting seashells. I also have a small garden at home, and certainly not enough to open my mini farmers market, but I do have a small garden growing tomatoes and green peppers and cucumbers right now. So when I do get time, I enjoy doing that. And quite frankly, we just introduced a new addition to the family in April. His name is Charlie. He's
Congratulations.
Labradoodle. And
Go.
I certainly enjoy spending time with Charlie. He doesn't care what type of day I've had when I walk in. He doesn't want to hear any of that. He just wants your attention. So certainly those are things that I enjoy doing for fun. I am also working on my family history. And I enjoy doing that. I have not been able to spend as much time on that as I would like, but it's coming along. But those are some of my hobbies and interests.
That's great. Well, Mr. Superintendent, we truly appreciate you taking this amount of time to spend with all of us in the community. Again, it's been a rare treat, a pleasure to have you here. It's insightful, the breadth and depth of issues you have to deal with in your role and the responsibilities are off the charts. You are a critical component of our community. We wish you well, wish you success. And I'd like to give you the last word. Is there anything you'd like to leave the parents and business folks with?
Thank you, Senator Tart. President Russell, it has been an amazing opportunity to join you all this morning. And I hope that you all will have me back at the appropriate time. I would certainly love to continue to strengthen the relationship that we have with the Chamber and the businesses here in the northern part of the county. I would say to our families and our students, we're excited. We're excited to welcome you back in a few short days. I am excited to have us all back in person together. It's been a long time since that has occurred. We're ready, we're expecting you, and we want you to have a positive school experience. To our students, very briefly, I will say, continue to work hard. And when challenges come your way, and notice I said when, not if, when challenges come your way, I think the past 15 months have taught us that you all are warriors, you are resilient, and you have persevered. And your dedicated, hardworking teachers and administrators are excited to welcome you back in the classroom. And we are hoping and certainly optimistic that we will have as normal of a school year as possible.
All right. Thank you again, Superintendent Winston. Bill, back to you.
Superintendent Winston on the call. We also have Melinda Bales. She not only is the mayor pro tem for Huntersville, but she is our education collaborative co-chair. She's been working very, very hard in that role for several years, working with our EDC. I know Ryan McDaniels was on the call, but Ryan and Melinda and the Chamber have put together some workforce development programs, work very closely with your CMS staff. I want to open up. Melinda, do you have anything that you would like to say on behalf of the Education Collaborative?
Absolutely, Bill. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Winston, thank you for being here with us. Thank you again. Jeff, you handled this brilliantly. I love the questions that you asked. I think they were all relevant. The Education Collaborative is continuously working with our area high schools and middle schools, looking for ways to partner with them and partner our area businesses. We will continue to do so. this school year, continue to work with our principals. You have great staff, Mr. Winston. I just need you to know that publicly, that your principals are amazing and your CTE coordinators are incredible. And we love working with them. And just last week, we were at Saretex Multicom with your staff from Hopewell and looking at apprenticeship opportunities there with those students and that business. So there's so many opportunities for students to get engaged in workforce development and for us as a community to gird that up. And we look forward to continuing to do so. I will say that in the next coming months, we will be doing a luncheon to honor our educators of the year, and would definitely want you to be a part of that. So you will be getting an invitation shortly in regards to that. I believe, Bill, we've got that slated for November, if my memory serves. So I'd love to have you there along with your staff, and just looking forward to continuing to gird those education opportunities up here in the North.
Thank you, Melinda. And again, Mike Riley, we want to thank Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center for your support, not only in presentation of the Focus Fridays, but our junior leadership Lake Norman, which is already kicked off. They have the retreat next Thursday with our high school juniors. We have 5 high schools involved in that program. And we are going to be accepting, or we are accepting applications for our adult leadership Lake Norman program. So anybody watching, if you haven't been through that program, it's a tremendous program. We encourage you to be a part of it. Jeff, thank you very much for guiding us through today's thing. And Superintendent, again, just like Melinda said, thank you for the work that you're doing. And on behalf of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, have a great weekend.